My dad never really thought much of me. Even after I got into a prestigious university, he still chose to support my cousin, who only got into a vocational college, to continue her studies. It wasn't until after my death that I found out my dad had been having an affair with his sister-in-law for nearly 20 years. Reborn at the age of 5, hearing the indecent sounds from the inner room, I burst into tears and ran out of the house, shouting loudly in the square, "My dad and aunt are fighting. Naked ass, Aunt is about to be beaten to death." The first thing I did after being reborn was to throw away the glass beads in my hand and rush home. Pushing open the door and hearing the indecent laughter coming from the inner room, I had to restrain myself with great effort to ensure I wouldn't charge in and take a knife to those two. As expected, in my previous life, every few days, my dad would demand that I play outside for at least 2 hours after school before coming home. Later, I was abducted by human traffickers and wasn't rescued until 8 years later. My father not only felt no guilt about this, but he was also deeply resentful of my return. I never understood why until after I died, floating in midair, watching him embrace his sister-in-law as they tumbled in bed, and then it all became clear. He was afraid I would expose his affair. In that case, I won't hold back in this lifetime. I pinched the soft flesh on the inside of my thigh hard, and tears instantly gushed out. I turned and dashed out of the room, running to the small square and crying out with all my might, "My dad and my aunt are fighting naked, butt naked, and my aunt is about to be beaten to death." As soon as these words were spoken, the square fell as silent as a chicken. The elderly man playing cards held his hand in midair, hesitating to play it, while the woman cracking sunflower seeds stopped munching, her excitement visibly growing. Neighbor Sister Lou smiled and took my hand. "Ching ching, what's going on? Explain it clearly so everyone knows how to help you," I sobbed, but my voice was unusually clear. "I heard Auntie say that if Dad keeps doing that, she'll die soon." Then I heard Dad spank Auntie's but really hard several times, saying he wanted to kill her. "What should I do? Will Dad go to jail?" Someone choked and coughed several times in a row. The neighborhood committee auntie stepped forward. "Ching ching, come on, let's go break up the fight. We can't let this turn into a big incident." Everyone quickly agreed and hurried to follow. The bedroom door was pushed open. Perhaps the commotion was too loud, as my dad and Su Jing, upon hearing it, hurriedly tidied themselves up, but time was tight, and the two of them clearly hadn't tidied up properly. Su Jing's shirt buttons were all misaligned, her hair was disheveled, the red marks on her collarbone were clearly visible, and the seductive look in her eyes hadn't completely faded. My father still had lipstick smeared on his face, shielding Su Jing behind him, his expression a mix of shock and anger. "What are you doing? This is trespassing on private property." Neighbor Sister Lou stepped forward with a smile. "We heard from Ching Ching that you and your sister-in-law got into a fight, so we were worried about you, but now it seems you two are getting along just fine." Everyone understood the meaning behind her words, and some couldn't help but chuckle softly. My father's face flushed with embarrassment, but he didn't know how to defend himself and could only shout loudly, "Get out, all of you, get out." The people who had come were all those who loved to gossip in their daily lives, so how could they be willing to leave just like that? Someone hidden in the crowd said something. Everyone knew his wife died early, but who would have thought he'd go after his own brother's wife? What a despicable man. Under the contemptuous gazes of the crowd, Su Jing felt so ashamed and angry she wished she could die, and she began to sob softly. My father couldn't bear to see the woman he loved suffer such humiliation. Gritting his teeth, he grabbed a nearby broom and swung it toward the crowd. "What are you all talking nonsense about? Shut the hell up." Seeing my father's frenzied expression, the crowd reluctantly dispersed, glancing back every few steps as they left. As soon as the person left, my father's gaze fell on me, his eyes fierce. "Did you do that on purpose?" I had no doubt that if I admitted it, he would throw me off the building the next second. I had long experienced his ruthlessness. In my previous life, during the 8 years I was abducted, I lacked food and clothing, was treated like an ox, and developed severe stomach problems at a young age. Even after being rescued, he never treated me well. He found the scar on my face and the smell on my body disgusting, strictly forbidding me from eating at the table. I could only pick up some leftovers to eat after they finished their meals, and later my stomach problems worsened, occasionally even vomiting blood. He just looked at me as if I were a dead dog. I asked him through tears, "Aren't I your daughter? Why are you treating me like this?" The disdain in his eyes grew even heavier. "You think you're worthy?" I thought he looked down on me because I wasn't good enough, so I studied like crazy, just to earn his approval. Later, during the college entrance exam, I got into a top-tier national university, but he still looked down on me. Instead, he treated my cousin who got into a junior college as his own, even saying he would cover her university expenses. Clutching my admission letter, I mustered up the courage and timidly asked, "What about me?" He kicked me right in the chest. "I've already done more than enough by raising you until you were 18. Do you still want to keep sucking my blood?" That day, he drove me out of the house. Later, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer, and the pain made it impossible for me to continue my part-time job. Rent had already taken up most of my savings, and I couldn't even afford painkillers. I begged him to lend me some money. He spat in my face, telling me to get lost and not to be an eyesore after I died. I thought he might feel a hint of remorse, but no, for decades after, until my soul completely dissipated, he never did. Only my uncle would bring me a bouquet of flowers on the anniversary of my death each year. Speak up, cat got your tongue, my father grabbed me and demanded. Fiercely, the memory was interrupted, and I said pitifully, "You said you were going to kill Auntie," so I got scared and asked the uncles and aunties to come and break up the fight. My father was so angry his chest heaved. "I told you not to come back before 7 o'clock, have you forgotten? Get out, and don't come back tonight." He threw me out, and the door slammed shut heavily in front of me, rubbing my hands excitedly. I knocked on the door of Aunt Lou next door. Aunt Lou is the neighborhood gossip in our community. She knows everything about every household and is quite popular among the aunties. That night, I spilled every detail about my dad and Su Jing's affair, then slept soundly at Aunt Lou's house, feeling quite satisfied. So before long, my dad realized that the situation had completely changed. The rumors about him and Su Jing were spreading with solid evidence, and some people even felt compelled to contact my uncle about it. Unfortunately, my uncle was likely out at sea with the ship. They usually stayed out for 1 or 2 months, often without any signal, so it would probably take quite a while to get in touch with him. The situation outside is too intense. Su Jing stays holed up at home all day, not even daring to pick up her daughter from school. My dad's clients have also started leaving in large numbers. My dad is shouting about wanting to kill me. Every time this happened, I would run out and shout, in front of everyone. He was so angry he stomped his feet but couldn't do anything about me. My life was quite enjoyable. On the other hand, my cousin Jo Cece's life wasn't going so well. Her mom and my dad's affair has blown up, and everyone who sees her whispers a few words behind her back. Jo Cece cares a lot about face and never got along with me to begin with, but now she keeps finding ways to cause trouble for me. Still, I've never let her get the upper hand. One day, as I was walking home from school, she secretly followed me. Seeing that no one was around, she picked up a rock and hurled it hard at the back of my head. I was prepared and dodged it. She wanted to try again, but I kicked her away. She fell to the ground, looking disheveled and cursing loudly. "Zhou Qingqing, you bitch, I'm going to tell your dad and have him beat you to death." Catching a glimpse of the figure at the other end of the alley, I smiled indifferently. "Is that so? Then I'll be waiting." In my past life, the human trafficker's initial target had been Zhou Cece. She had been raised so well by my father and her mother. Fair and tender, clearly a budding beauty, not like me, skinny and bony. It was just that in my previous life, when she was caught, her cry of "Sister, save me" stirred my compassion. I lunged over and bit down hard on the human trafficker's hand. Zhou Cece ran away just like that, while I was sent deep into the mountains to become a child bride for a mentally unstable fool. The fool's family was poor. I slept in a pigsty for 8 years. Once, a pig went berserk and mauled me until I was covered in blood, leaving a terrifying scar on my face and a smell on my body that I could never wash away for the rest of my life. Later, when I was rescued, the police told me that Zhou Cece hadn't even mentioned to them that she had seen the trafficker. If she had clearly stated the time and place of the disappearance from the start, the case would never have taken so long to solve. Moreover, after I was rescued and returned, she bullied me more than once. Even during those days when I was diagnosed with stomach cancer and barely clinging to life, she didn't let up, grabbing my hair and dragging me off the bed, slamming me hard onto the floor. "You're just a worthless life, destined to stay in the pigsty forever. Do you think you deserve any respect? How dare you come asking for money? Your father's money is all meant for me. Don't even think about taking a single penny." She doesn't believe my miserable fate has anything to do with her. She just thinks I was born worthless. So, in this lifetime, I will make sure she returns to the life she was meant to have. Zhou Cece is missing. The police had no leads either. Su Jing cried all day long, seeing her like this. My father even disregarded the gossip and moved in to live with her, completely ignoring how a 5-year-old child like me would manage alone at home. I was quite content with the freedom, spending my days at home using the landline to call my uncle's number over and over again. Finally, one morning a week later, I got through. I only told him about Zhou Cece being missing, and didn't say another word about anything else. So, when my uncle hurriedly rushed back in the middle of the night, he saw the scene. His brother and his wife were lying naked in each other's arms, sleeping soundly. My uncle often goes out to sea with the ship and frequently needs to load and unload cargo, so his well-defined muscles are definitely not just for show. That night, my father broke 2 ribs and had his nose bridge fractured, trembling as he dialed 120 for himself. The next morning, as soon As I arrived at the hospital room, I heard Su Jing inside, crying bitterly. All you care about is making money. I hardly see you a few times throughout the year. Is it my fault for having an affair? Why don't you reflect on yourself? I was listening on the side, just wanting to give her a thumbs up. She didn't even stop to think. Without her uncle, could her life have been so comfortable? It was the early 2000s, and a single tank top of hers cost over 1,000 yuan. Her uncle earned tens of thousands a month and gave every last cent to her, all because he felt guilty. He was even worried that no one would take care of her and her daughter, so he gritted his teeth and took out a loan to buy them an apartment in the same neighborhood where my dad was renting, just hoping my dad could look after them a bit more. Who would have thought that this care would lead them straight to bed? Uncle didn't argue with Su Jing, he simply said coldly, "Let's get a divorce." Su Jing couldn't bear to part with uncle, her cash cow. She immediately started making a scene, crying, throwing a tantrum, and threatening to hang herself. "Why should you, Zhou Bolin? I've borne you children, I've managed this household for so many years, even if I haven't done great deeds, I've worked hard. Isn't it just a small mistake? Why do you have to keep harping on it? You're a man, why can't you be more generous?" Uncle was so angry that the veins on his temples were throbbing, but he didn't hit her. Instead, Su Jing grew more aggrieved as she spoke, crying until she fainted. The doctor examined her. Well, she was over a month pregnant. It was perfectly clear whose child it was. In her previous life, Su Jing was afraid that her affair with my father would be exposed. After discovering she was pregnant, she even made a special trip to the coast to see my uncle, and later claimed to have given birth prematurely to a son. The child looks like my father and also resembles my uncle quite a bit. My uncle didn't suspect much and raised the child for over 20 years. Later, when the truth came to light, the child teamed up with my father to seize my uncle's assets and then drove him out of the house. In this lifetime, I will bring everything out into the open. They will never have another chance to exploit my uncle. When Su Jing woke up and found out she was pregnant, instead of feeling ashamed, she became even more aggrieved. Seeing that her uncle was determined to divorce, she refused to back down. "Zhou Bolin, after all, I'm carrying the Zhou family's child. You're not losing out. And now that Cece is missing, can't you just treat this child as your own? Why must you be so petty?" My uncle, who had never hit a woman before, ultimately couldn't hold back and slapped her hard. Get lost. After people in the community learned that Su Jing had failed to pick up her daughter due to an affair, leading to the child's abduction, and that she was now pregnant with her brother-in-law's baby, the incident escalated even further. Later on, there were even tabloid reporters who specifically wrote an article and published it in our local news. Under the pressure of public opinion, and with the threat of my uncle suing if they didn't divorce, Su Jing ultimately agreed to the divorce. Before leaving, she even managed to get a sum of money. My father happily brought Su Jing back home later. He specifically took Su Jing to the hospital for a checkup, after subtly finding out it was a son. Dad treated Su Jing like a queen, pampering her in every way. The two quickly got their marriage certificate, and their married life turned out to be exceptionally loving. Although my dad lost his job due to public opinion, he had some savings and insisted on giving Su Jing the best in terms of food, clothing, housing, and transportation. Su Jing was glowing with happiness, with someone by her side and money to spend. She no longer missed my uncle. It's just that later on, she grew increasingly unwelcoming toward me, afraid that I would compete with her son for the inheritance. I overheard her several times, both openly and discreetly, urging my father to abandon me. My father probably harbored the same thoughts. With a son and a new wife, I, as his daughter, became even less valuable. Moreover, as Su Jing's belly gradually grew larger, my father, fearing that the gossip in the neighborhood might affect her mood during pregnancy, simply moved away with Su Jing, of course, without taking me, the burden, along. When I came home from school, the entire house was already empty, and the landlord was there to take back the property. I couldn't help but laugh in anger. Does he even realize he's committing the crime of abandonment? After calling the police, the first to arrive was my uncle. He picked me up and sighed repeatedly. Such a poor fate. That Zhou Junsong is a beast. Ching Ching, why don't you come with your uncle from now on? Later, when my father heard that someone was willing to take me, this burden, he eagerly cooperated with the transfer procedures, afraid that I would affect his sweet married life with Su Jing. My uncle took me home, and this rough, inarticulate man began learning how to be a good elder, drifting for half a lifetime. It's clear that the major upheaval in his family has hit him hard. He quit his job at sea and found a simple, subsistence-level job in our small county town. Despite the bumps along the way, it wasn't until this moment that our lives finally settled down. For a full 9 years, I never saw Su Jing or my biological father, Zhou Junsong, again. I saw them again at the college celebration banquet my uncle threw for me after I skipped a grade to take the college entrance exam and became the top scorer in the province. He and Sujing were stopped outside by a waiter, accompanied by a little boy. This is my daughter's celebration banquet. Why can't I go in? Don't you dare look down on people, you dog. The commotion they caused was so loud that my uncle and I had no choice but to go out and resolve it. At first glance, we were almost shocked out of our wits. Zhou Junsung's skin was tan dark, and though he was not yet 40, his back was already hunched. Sujing was no longer the fair-skinned beauty she once was. Her face was covered with the brown spots left by childbirth, and her clothes looked cheap at a glance. The child they were holding hands with should be 8 years old this year, but he looked like he was only 5 or 6, with a sallow complexion and a thin, gaunt frame. Thinking about it, their lives these years really haven't been going well. This is so different from the previous life. In the previous life, Sujing was doted on by her uncle and enjoyed a life of wealth and luxury for half her life. Zhou Junsong was a salesman, eloquent and persuasive, with excellent performance. He was thriving in the company, earning around 10,000 yuan a month without any problem. Their illegitimate child was showered with endless affection. As soon as Zhou Junsong saw me, his eyes lit up, and he rushed over to tightly grasp my hand. Ching, do you remember me? I'm your father, I sneered. Of course I remember. The affair between you and my former aunt is still widely talked about in our neighborhood. The smile on my dad's face froze. You silly child. How could you listen to outsiders' nonsense? I'm your father. You should be on my side. Understand? I resisted the urge to roll my eyes and pulled my hand back. If you have something to say, say it. If you have a fart to let out, let it out. The anger on his face flashed briefly before he forcibly suppressed it. In the next moment, he actually knelt down right in front of me, thump, 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 knocking his head 3 times loudly. Ching, save your brother, only you can save him now. From Zhou Junsung's tearful account, I understood. My half-brother has kidney failure and won't live more than 2 years without a transplant. Have you and your wife been tested for compatibility? I asked. Both of them paused for a moment. I immediately understood. Their own son was sick, but they didn't want to donate a kidney themselves, so they came to emotionally blackmail me instead. I did, but the doctor said it's not suitable. Ching, you can't just stand by and watch someone die. This is your brother. Once you get married, he'll be your family, your support. Yes, our Chuan is very capable. Besides, it's just donating 1 kidney. Ching, you're young, you'll recover quickly, and it won't really cost you anything. Sujing, afraid I would refuse, quickly added, after all these years, I'm still shocked by their shamelessness. My uncle couldn't bear to listen any longer and called security to have them removed. Seeing how heartless he was, Sujing immediately threw a tantrum. Zhou Bolin, you heartless man, we've been husband and wife for 6 years, and you have to be so ruthless. Aren't you afraid of divine retribution? Their noise was utterly irritating. At that moment, the police walked in. Is Zhou Bolin here, your daughter, Zhou Cece, has been found. Upon hearing this news, we were all stunned for a moment. Uncle stepped forward to discuss the matter with the police. I glanced at Sujing, who hadn't yet reacted, and leaned in to whisper in her ear, a ready-made kidney is right here, isn't it? Sujing trembled all over, and after a moment, a light flickered in her eyes. Zhou Cece's situation wasn't much better than mine. I slept in the pigsty, she slept in the chicken coop, and one of her eyes was even pecked blind. Her once tall and full figure from her previous life was now barely 1.5 meters tall. Her face was still covered in stubborn grime, and her body carried a pungent odor. When the mother and daughter embraced and cried, Sujing was nauseated several times by the smell on her. It's been almost 10 years since we last met, and Sujing has been worn down by life. Seeing Zhou Cece in her current state, there's hardly any affection left. I've noticed the disdain in Sujing's eyes several times, but despite that, she still tries hard to play the role of a loving mother. Uncle watched from the side, his gaze complex to maintain Sujing's high-spending habits. He went to sea on a ship when Zhou Cece was still too young to remember much. As a result, Zhou Cece has little affection for him and instead prefers Zhou Junsong, who often spoils her. This time when she came back, she barely even glanced at her uncle. In the end, she didn't hesitate at all and chose to leave with Sujing and Zhou Junsong. Her uncle didn't say anything, just quietly pulled her aside and slipped her a card. There's 200,000 in the card, keep it safe, and don't let your mother know. Zhou Cece tucked the card away and, without saying a word to her uncle, turned and left. As she brushed past me, her footsteps hesitated for a moment. Just wait, sooner or later, I'm going to kill you. My gaze swept over the hotel entrance, where Sujing and Zhou Junsong were holding their son, their eyes fixed eagerly on Zhou Cece. I curled my lips and answered just as I did 9 years ago, is that so, then? I'll be waiting. Knowing that I would never donate a kidney to his son, Jo Jun-sung lied to Jo Cece, telling her he was taking her for a full-body checkup, but in reality, he secretly arranged for a compatibility test. The match was successful, a kidney source has been found, but the surgery fee is still missing. Jo Jun-sung set his sights on my scholarship. He showed up carrying a bag of rotten mangoes. The kind sold by the roadside for $1 or $2 per pound. Ching ching, your dad remembers how much you loved mangoes when you were little. I walked a long way to buy these. Try one. Glancing at the partially blackened, wrinkled-skinned mango in the bag, I couldn't hide my disgust. Thanks, but I'm allergic to mangoes. A flicker of embarrassment crossed Jo Jun-sung's face. Dad must have remembered wrong. What do you like to eat? How about I give you some money to buy it yourself? He probably thought I would refuse. His hand staying in his pocket for a long time without moving. I didn't say a word, just leaned quietly against the door and watched him put on his act. The atmosphere grew so awkward that he couldn't bear it any longer. Finally, after fumbling in his pocket for a while, he pulled out a 20 yuan bill and reluctantly handed it to me. Ching ching, I heard you did well on your exams and the school rewarded you with 200,000 yuan. Is that true? Yes. Jo Jun-sung's expression grew agitated. Then can you lend it to Dad first? You know, your brother needs surgery, and the expenses are huge. Your siblings, blood is thicker than water. You can't be like those heartless people who turn a blind eye to someone in need. Though he called it a loan, he had no intention of paying it back. I slapped that $20 bill onto his face. So you think you can trick me out of 200,000 with just $20? Jo Jun-sung, are you stupid, or am I? The $20 bill fell to the ground, and he hurriedly picked it up and stuffed it into his own pocket. How can this be considered trickery? Ching ching, you need to understand one thing. As a girl, you'll eventually have to rely on your brother. If you treat him well now, he won't let you down in the future. Not wanting to listen to any more of his nonsense, I slammed the door right in his face. Get away from me, don't come near me, just like what he said to me in my previous life. Jo Jun-sung was so angry that he cursed loudly at the door. You heartless wretch, I should have fed you to the dogs when you were born. Top scholar, I'm going to expose you. Just wait, you'll regret it. In his mind, as long as he gave birth to me, he had the right to control everything about me. Even if he neglected me, it wouldn't stop him from demanding things from me. That very afternoon, he wrote a lengthy essay of several thousand words to the newspaper, denouncing my misdeeds as a provincial top scorer. The topic of the top scorer was trending, and many clueless journalists flocked to the scene. Why have you ignored your own father? Is there something hidden behind it? You received a scholarship, yet you refused to pay for your brother's surgery. Do you think 200,000 yuan is more important than your brother's life? Which do you find more despicable, having virtue but no talent, or having talent but no virtue? Could you share your thoughts on this? Among them, there are questions deliberately designed to stir up public opinion for the sake of popularity. I responded to each one. Yes, I do hate my biological father, and I truly believe that 200,000 is more important than my brother's life. That same day, I was criticized and became a trending topic. They said I was worse than an animal, that I lacked humanity, and that I should be banned from all universities. My uncle was extremely worried. How could you say that? Do you want me to go out and explain it to you? I patted him on the shoulder. It's okay, uncle, don't worry. I never stepped forward to explain, and when people in the neighborhood wanted to help me clarify things, I stopped them all. I only opened a short video account and posted some videos featuring myself. In just 1 week, the account gained hundreds of thousands of followers. Vicious words flooded the comments section of my posts. Seeing me being cyberbullied, Jo Jun-sung was absolutely delighted. If you hand over the money now, I'll put in a good word for you, otherwise, you'll be drowned in everyone's spit. I couldn't even be bothered to respond to him. He started selling his misery online to raise funds again, and I didn't expose him then. At the peak of the attention, I posted a clarification video showing my property transfer certificate and my police report from that year. Moreover, over 100 neighbors in the community were willing to speak up for me, with each of them adding their piece. Jo Jun-sung's past actions were completely exposed. Public opinion instantly turned overwhelmingly against him, with many demanding that Jo Jun-sung refund the money. Once the money was in their pockets, they were reluctant to give it back, so they simply pretended to be dead and didn't respond. An angry netizen couldn't hold back and directly splashed feces on him. The whole family huddled in the house, afraid to go out, afraid to answer the phone, and even buying groceries had to be done stealthily. Uncle, worried that Jo Cece might be implicated, went to see her and asked if she wanted to move in with him, but instead, he was mocked by Jo Cece. She said her uncle was being hypocritical and that it made her sick. Feeling disheartened, the uncle stopped asking about it. Not long after, the Jo Junsong family was subjected to a home invasion robbery. The robbers threatened Jo Junsong with Su Jing's life to hand over the funds, but Jo Junsong stubbornly refused, resulting in Su Jing being stabbed 3 times. Fortunately, a passerby called the police in time, and the police arrived promptly, saving Su Jing's life. This once loving couple, worn down by the daily grind of life, has now become so indifferent to each other's well-being. The charitable funds they raised were also deemed ill-gotten gains and were all confiscated and returned. Half a year later, Jo Junsong still went ahead with the surgery for his son. I can easily guess where the surgery fees came from. It was only later that I learned that after getting the money from Jo Cece, in order to force her to donate a kidney, the Jo Junlin couple locked Jo Cece in a sweet potato cellar, giving her only 1 meal every 2 days. This kind of life was even worse than the days when she was abducted. Jo Cece escaped from one cage only to find herself in another, and this time, the cage was shackled on her by her own biological mother. She thought she was returning to the warm embrace of her mother, but in reality, she was stepping into an even darker abyss. The reason for this was simply that her younger brother had an extra 2 ounces of flesh. He was a boy. After being confined for a full month, Jo Cece ultimately couldn't hold out any longer and was forced to agree to donate her kidney. After the kidney donation, Jo Junlin and his wife didn't forget to squeeze the last bit of value out of Jo Cece. When Jo Cece was 17, they tied her up and sold her to an old man in a neighboring village for 30,000 yuan. Jo Cece, like me in my past life, tearfully questioned Su Jing. "Why am I not your daughter?" Su Jing stared at her with disgust. "Look at yourself now, ugly, blind, and a worn-out shoe. I'm lucky to even marry you off." All of this happened while I was working hard with my uncle in the city where I attended university. Because I carried memories from my past life, I seized many opportunities ahead of others. I dabbled in various fields, such as campus food delivery, e-commerce, and short videos, and even leveraged the online popularity I had gained earlier to make a fortune. My uncle was also constantly on the move with me, and both of us were so busy that we barely had time to pay much attention to what was happening back in our hometown until the police came knocking on her door again. Perhaps Jo Cece was inherently a madwoman, or perhaps she had been driven to a dead end. In the second year of her marriage to the old man, she was beaten until she miscarried because the old man firmly believed he was infertile and that Jo Cece had cheated on him, even though Jo Cece had been chained to the head of the bed like a dog the entire time. On the night of the miscarriage, while the old man was asleep, Jo Cece tore open his throat with her teeth. She then spent a day breaking free from the iron chains, grabbed a wood-chopping axe, and rushed to Su Jing's house. The entire family was wiped out. The police said that the last place Jo Cece went was his uncle's house, where the door was slashed with cracks all over. If his uncle had been home at the time, it would have been difficult for him to escape being killed. Upon hearing this news, the uncle was very disheartened. Am I too much of a failure as a father? If I had spent more time with her as she grew up, or if I had let her stay with me after she was rescued, would things have turned out differently? I couldn't answer that question for him, but I firmly believe that some people are born evil, like Jo Junsong and his wife, and like Jo Cece in her previous life. Jo Junsong, along with his illegitimate son, drove her uncle out in the dead of winter. When her uncle, overwhelmed by despair, attempted to jump into the river, Jo Cece not only watched coldly but also deliberately provoked him, standing by as he sank to the bottom of the river. Later, she even refused to collect his body if she could treat her own father, who had raised her for decades, in such a manner. I absolutely refuse to believe that such behavior was solely the result of her upbringing. Her mindset is well matched to the suffering she has endured. Jo Cece was diagnosed with a mental illness and sent to a psychiatric hospital. My uncle and I still went back to visit her. When we arrived, she was having an episode, and it took several nurses working together to restrain her. "This shouldn't be me. This shouldn't be my life. This belongs to Jo Qingqing. It's all that bitch. That bitch ruined me," she screamed with all her might, and the moment she saw me, her eyes instantly turned bloodshot. "You still dare to come here, the one who should have been trafficked is you bitch. I'll kill you, you bitch." At that moment, I realized she might have encountered some trigger, recalling events from her past life, but I couldn't be entirely sure, so I gave a slight nod. I mouthed the words, "Yes, it's your turn in this lifetime. Isn't that fair?" I don't know if she understood, but I could see her expression growing increasingly frantic. "Give it back. Give me back my life." The nurse gave her a sedative, and she slowly fell into a deep sleep. Tears continuously streaming from the corners of her eyes, I took my uncle's arm and turned to leave. I know, against the backdrop of her proud and happy life in her previous existence, the pain of this lifetime only becomes more distinct, so distinct that it is enough to tear her apart, to destroy her. As for me, I will cherish the hard-won happiness of the present even more. The year I graduated from university, my uncle remarried. The person I married is a business partner of mine, nearly 40 years old, unmarried, gentle and intelligent. My uncle is somewhat emotionally reserved, yet it was precisely this kind of person who displayed a passion I had never seen before when pursuing the one he loved. Later, we came to understand, when Auntie was young, she once had a daughter who was also abducted by human traffickers, and all these years, she has never given up searching for her. I recall the dark days after I was abducted in my previous life, an experience that brings a suffocating sense of near death every time I think of it. I am fortunate to have been given a chance to live another life, but at the same time, there are countless other children who have suffered everything I did, with no chance to start over. Their bones lie buried in foreign lands, gnawed by snakes, insects, rats, and ants, with no one to speak for them. I am no longer the pitiful little girl from my past life. I now have the means to give back to society, so I suggested to my uncle, how about we establish an organization, let's call it Baby Come Home. While helping my aunt, we can also assist those abducted children in returning to their normal families. Baby Come Home was officially established. We are dedicated to rescuing abducted children and addressing their psychological counseling needs after they return home. For those children who are not accepted by their birth families and are suppressed and looked down upon, we have accepted them one by one. We provide them with excellent educational resources, sufficient means of livelihood, and warm love. This group has grown larger and larger over time. At a young age, I have dozens of children. Everything from my past life gradually faded away as the children gathered around me, calling out President Mom one after another. I am no longer the pitiful creature begging for mercy in my past life. I have become a safe harbor for these children. The more people who find refuge in this harbor, the farther the winds that blow through it will carry. Those heavy wounds will also be soothed and calmed in the wind. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, I was bound to a fertility system by my husband, forced to bear children endlessly without my knowledge. In the end, they drained all my value, and I died on the operating table. After my death, they squandered the millions in wealth they had gained from the system through me. When I woke up again, I had returned to the moment just after the system was bound and I became pregnant. When I first got pregnant, my husband and I swapped bodies. With my face and a bulging belly, he kept urging me to find a way to switch back. This was what I had longed for. Why would I ever want to change back? In my past life, I died on the operating table from a difficult childbirth. I gave birth to 3 children for Andy, but during the 4th, I had a difficult labor and ultimately died on the operating table. Before I died, I couldn't bear to part with my children and my husband. Only after death did I realize that I was merely a tool they used to make money. Andy had bound me to a fertility system right after we got married. The more children I had, the smoother Andy's career and life became, so Andy kept coaxing me into getting pregnant and having children. In the end, I died on the operating table. I heard the system's mechanical voice announce, "The host has been bound to the exchange system." The system can randomly swap bodies with someone for a period of 6 months. After 6 months, the system will disappear. Once the system experience is completed, please give us a 5-star rating. Host, I raised my hand to touch my belly. I had been reborn to the time when I was just 2 months pregnant. During this period, spots appeared on my face, and I vomited every day to the point of being unable to eat, leaving me weak and sickly. Andy said, "Jane, this is our child. You're nurturing the fruit of our love. You're the greatest mother." At that time, I was deeply moved by these words. No matter how hard or exhausting it was, I felt it was all worth it. But now, I think such a great thing should be done by Andy. Andy came back from social engagements in the early hours of the morning, reeking of alcohol, and collapsed into bed as soon as he got home. I remember before I got pregnant, Andy was just an ordinary clerk. After I became pregnant, his career started to flourish, and now he's even risen to the position of project manager. I looked at Andy's sleeping face, which was full of pride and satisfaction. He must have been very happy during this time. I whispered, "System, can we start the life exchange now?" The system's cold voice instantly echoed in my mind, "As long as the host is ready, it can be done anytime. Please select the target for the exchange." I curled my lips slightly. "Let it be my husband." Target locked. Initiating body exchange. Exchange progress 80%. I watched the progress bar above my head continuously change until it finally reached 100. The system's voice rang out in my mind once again. Exchange successful. Duration 6 months. Please enjoy experiencing this substituted life. If you have any questions, the system is always available to answer. I looked up and saw my own familiar face, sallow, spotted, almost unrecognizable compared to my former self. At that moment, it was peacefully asleep. With closed eyes, I curled my lips. The swap was successful. Andy, enjoy experiencing your own pregnancy system. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by a scream. Opening my eyes, I saw Andy staring at my face, his expression filled with horror. He shouted in terror, "Jane, what's going on? How did I turn into you?" I put on a surprised expression. "Andy, how are you using my face?" We stared at each other in shock. Half an hour later, Andy and I sat in the living room. He wiped his face with his hand and looked at me with a scrutinizing gaze. "Jane, do you really not know what's going on?" My voice trembling with fear, I threw myself into Andy's arms. "Andy, what on earth is happening? I'm so scared. How did we suddenly wake up in each other's bodies?" Andy reached out and hugged me, suppressing the disgust in my heart. I stayed still as he uttered those hypocritical words. "Don't be afraid, Jane. I'll find a way to switch us back." I pretended to wipe my tears and looked up at him from his embrace. "Really? But what about your work tomorrow?" Andy sighed. "You go tomorrow, we'll stay connected, and I'll tell you what to do. Don't overthink it, sweetie. We'll find a way to switch back." I nodded. Before bed, Andy went into the bathroom with a grim face. From outside, I clearly heard his voice inside. "What's going on? How did my body end up like this?" I couldn't hear what the system said in response, but I did hear Andy pounding the wall hard and complaining, "You don't know anything. What good are you, really? It seems the system is just a mechanical thing after all. It can't detect anything extra." That puts my mind at ease. I yawned and returned to the bedroom. After all, I had work the next day. I got up early. Andy looked pale and had already vomited several times in the bathroom. He sat listlessly on the sofa and instructed me, "Jane, call me if anything comes up later." I nodded, gathered my things, and headed out. I quickly got the hang of things when I joined the company. I remember back in school, Andy and I were alumni. My academic performance was much better than his, and I originally had great career prospects. He was the one who said he would take me back to his hometown to develop together. He said we were a team, that as long as he was around, I wouldn't have to work so hard. I just needed to enjoy life. So I gave up my promising future and moved to his hometown, taking an ordinary job close to home to make it easier to take care of the family. But what did Andy give me in return? I even feel that my death in my previous life wasn't unjust at all. Being love-struck always comes with a price. Now that I have a chance to start over, why would I repeat the same mistakes? On the first day, I called Andy to ask a few HR-related questions, and on the second day, I inquired about some trivial matters. By the third day, I stopped asking anything because I had already fully mastered the job, even better than Andy, with the added advantage of his good luck system. In just half a month, I successfully negotiated several projects. Company social events were endless. One night when I returned late again, Andy sat on the sofa with a dark expression, saying coldly, "Do you even remember this home? Do you even know to come back? Jane, are you even a woman? I'm at home suffering through pregnancy, and you come back this late." I glanced up at Andy and said with a smile, "I'm exhausted from working to support the family too. Aren't all my work-related social engagements for the sake of this household?" Andy's face grew darker, but he had no rebuttal. He could only angrily say, "Hurry up and find a way to switch our bodies back. I can't stand this for even one more day." I curled my lips. "It hasn't been that long. Can't you handle it already? There are still several months to go. You'd better hold on." In the following days, probably due to the emotional instability during pregnancy, Andy became increasingly irritable and started throwing tantrums, smashing things around the house. He glared at me fiercely. "Jane, find a way to switch back quickly. I can't take it anymore. I can't eat a single bite of food every day, and even drinking water makes me vomit. This is fucking not a life a human should live." I glanced at Andy with a calm expression. "Didn't you say this was a great thing? Just bear with it a little longer." 1 month of body swapping. Andy stopped me at the entrance of the neighborhood. His belly was already showing, his hair disheveled, and his eyes bloodshot as he grabbed me and screamed hysterically, "Jane, are you deliberately avoiding switching our bodies back? Are you hiding from me? Jane's pregnancy is your problem. Hurry up and switch our bodies back." It was rush hour, and quite a few people had gathered around. I curled my lips slightly and whispered to Andy, "Yeah, why should I switch back?" Andy glared at me with dark, venomous eyes. "Bitch, you damn bitch, I'm going to tell everyone. I'm the real Andy. It was you. bitch, who swapped our bodies. His sharp, loud voice drew everyone's attention. Seeing that almost everyone had gathered, I sighed helplessly. Jane, let's go back. Stop it. I know you're under pressure, but I'm also exhausted from working to support the family. I pulled an all-nighter at the office to finish my work, and I came back as soon as I was done. Andy pushed me away abruptly. I'm the one making a scene, Jane. I'm the real Andy. I should be the one working. You're the one who should stay home and have babies. My face twisted in shock and disbelief as I stared at him. Jane, what are you talking about? I'm Andy. Jane, what's wrong with you? Is the pregnancy stress getting to you? Let me take you to the hospital. People around were whispering, and one auntie pulled me aside. Young man, you must pay close attention to the pregnant woman's mood. She seems to be under a lot of mental stress, which can easily. She pointed at her head while looking at me, though not explicitly stated. Everyone understood what she meant. I quickly nodded. Got it, Auntie. I'll put my work aside and take good care of her. I turned to Andy, a smirk playing at the corners of my lips, and silently mouthed, see, everyone says you're sick. Andy indeed seemed to have lost his mind. With a twisted expression, he lunged forward to grab my clothes, shouting, I'm not sick. I'm not sick. Everything I said is true. He looked around desperately for help, pleading, she's the real Jane. She swapped bodies with me. I'm really Andy. Please, help me. I beg you. With an apologetic look at the people around us, I had no choice but to call 120 to have Andy taken away. At the hospital, the doctor gave her a sedative, and only then did she calm down. When I woke up, I was sitting by the hospital bed, sipping the porridge I had bought. He glanced at me weakly, his gaze full of resentment. I will definitely find a way to switch back. Just wait, Jane. I will definitely find a way. I shrugged indifferently. Fine, I'll wait and see. Then I placed the porridge by his bedside. Have some. You'll need the energy to figure out how to switch back. It's not that I'm particularly kind, it's just that the body is my own, and I'll have to switch back when the time comes. As soon as I stepped out of the hospital room, I heard Andy on the phone, his voice choked with tears. Mom, I didn't listen to the rest of what was said, because I know all too well what kind of person my mother in-law is. Before we got married, she treated me very well, but then she started constantly finding fault. She only became a bit better when I was pregnant. It wasn't long before I received a call from my mother-in-law, her voice warm and affectionate on the other end. Andy, how have you been lately? I mimicked Andy's tone and replied, I'm doing fine, Mom. Her voice immediately responded, fine. You always like to share the good news but not the bad, that Jane has no skills to speak of but a terrible temper. She just called me and rambled on like a madwoman. Andy, why don't I come over to take care of you? I curled the corner of my lips and replied with a smile, then I'll trouble you, Mom. I remember in my past life, Andy's mom came too, saying she was here to take care of me, but in reality, it wasn't like that. She claimed to treat me well, yet we had to wait for Andy to come home before we could eat every day. Any good food had to be given to Andy first, she said. Andy worked hard to support the family, while she and I were just idle at home, so naturally, we should prioritize the one who worked hard. If Andy hadn't come back that day, it would have been just thin porridge and leftovers. This time, Andy should taste the bitterness himself. Fiona arrived quickly, coming that very night. When I went to pick her up, Andy immediately ran over and grabbed Fiona's hand. Mom, you're finally here. Fiona awkwardly pulled her hand away and glanced at me. I had already told her on the way that Andy had been in a bad mood these days because of her pregnancy. He's developed delusional disorder. I'll take him to the hospital once I clear some work. Fiona gave him a disdainful look and walked up to me. Andy, you just focus on working from now on. I'll take care of the household. I nodded. The next day when I returned after working all day, the house was in complete chaos. There were many missed calls on my phone, but I didn't answer a single one. I knew it was Andy calling, but I deliberately didn't answer. What kind of person is she? I know Andy better than anyone. It would be strange if Andy, who's in my body, could get away with it. As soon as the door opened, Fiona immediately sat on the floor wailing, then turned to look at me. Andy, do you know how hard it is for me? I came all this way to take care of your wife, and what does she do? She goes crazy saying she's Andy and you're Jane. I said we'd eat when you got back, but she acted like a starving ghost reborn, insisting on eating right away. If I didn't let her, she'd flip the table. Andy, let's take her to the hospital for a checkup. I looked at Andy, who was sitting on the floor in a disheveled maternity dress, his eyes filled with venom as he glared at me. Jane, you're so cruel. Are you satisfied now that you've taken everything from me? I hadn't even spoken when Fiona immediately stepped forward and slapped her across the face. Have you recovered from your madness yet? You're tearing this family apart. I never agreed to Andy marrying you in the first place. What kind of trash are you? You're utterly unworthy of my son. I watched coldly as mother and son went at each other's throats. The sight of dogs biting dogs was truly exceptionally satisfying at night. Andy stood eerily in the corner, his gaze filled with venom as he stared at me, holding a kitchen knife. I was startled for a moment when I saw it, but quickly regained my composure. Andy wouldn't dare. He's too cowardly and useless to actually do anything. Besides, he couldn't bear to lose all this, the promotion brought to him by the pregnancy system, along with my intentional or unintentional hints that I was thriving in the company using his identity, likely to get another promotion and raise within half a year. How could he bear to give all this up? He just wanted to swap bodies back and continue enjoying the success he had achieved through a woman. Andy's long hair covered half his face, his belly slightly swollen, his eyes darkened. Gloomy. Jane, swap our bodies back, or I'll take us both down. Just as I was about to speak, Fiona's scream rang out from the doorway. Half an hour later, the police arrived and gave Andy a stern lecture. Andy, tears streaming down his face, grabbed the officer's hand and sobbed, "Officer, you must help me. I'm the real Andy. Jane switched identities with me. Please, I beg you to help me. I can't live like this for even one more day." The officer glanced at me helplessly and said, "He still needs to be sent for treatment as soon as possible." The next day, Fiona and I forcibly took Andy to the psychiatric hospital. He screamed and struggled, insisting he wasn't mentally ill and that everything was true, but no one would believe him. The doctor injected him with a sedative, then shook his head. "Her mind has already deteriorated. Her child cannot be kept." I nodded, putting on an expression of extreme sorrow. "I'll think about it. Thank you, doctor." After being discharged from the hospital, I curled the corners of my lips as I held the doctor's diagnosis, carefully tucking it into my bag. Andy, sedated, had already fallen asleep. Fiona glanced at Andy in the back seat and whispered, "She's already like that. Maybe you should just divorce her. Our family can't be ruined by this lunatic." I looked at Andy and put on a reluctant expression. "Let's wait and see. It's just that you'll have to bear the burden from now on, Mom." Andy was brought back, and Fiona suggested tying him up with a rope. I pretended to disagree, but Fiona tearfully said, "Andy, I know you can't bear to, but this is the only way Mom can take care of her properly. Don't worry, Mom won't treat her badly." Only then did I reluctantly nod in agreement. "Oh, Andy, this was your mother's request." After just 3 days of this, Andy was crying and begging me, "Jane, I was wrong. I'll behave. Please let me go." Looking at Andy, who had become a pitiful mess in just a few days, I felt extremely satisfied. The only downside was that this body was my own. I believed Andy and let him go. True to his word, he became much more obedient, though he still went up frequently. Fiona complained to me every day, "Andy, look at her. She's pregnant but still running around without a care. Who knows if that baby in her belly is even yours?" I deliberately put on a surprised expression. "Really?" Fiona immediately nodded. "Look at her. She doesn't seem like a decent person at all. Who knows how many men she's been messing around with." By the time Andy returned, the night was already dark. Fiona scowled and said sarcastically, "Oh, so you finally decided to come back. What a shameless, low-class woman." Time flew by quickly. With the good fortune brought by the lucky pregnancy system, I used Andy's identity to win another bonus and even got a raise. Suddenly, I understood, with such favorable winds, who could resist? There were still 3 months left, and Andy was becoming more and more docile. He seemed to have completely accepted his current identity, his belly already quite noticeable. While I was still hesitating about how to handle this child, Andy had an accident. He was pushed to the ground by Fiona and had a miscarriage. Andy lay on the hospital bed, glaring venomously at Fiona, while she appeared utterly indifferent. Her voice rose sharply, "You shameless slut, going out every day. Who knows if that belly of yours is even carrying our family's seed, now that it's gone. Good riddance. At least my Andy won't have to play the fool for you. Once a loving mother and son, now they can't stand the sight of each other." I couldn't help but wonder, what would Fiona's reaction be if she knew the one she's tormenting is her own precious darling son? The child is gone, and Fiona refuses to deliver meals to Andy at the hospital every day. Only I consistently bring him takeout from the restaurant on time, without fail, each meal packed with nourishing and restorative ingredients. Andy looked at me with intense emotion, gripping my hand. "Jane, you still love me, don't you? There was just a misunderstanding between us before. You see, you still can't bear to leave me alone." I rolled my eyes inwardly at his words but said nothing, just walking away dejectedly. In the days that followed, Andy began showering me with all sorts of favors, thinking I still had feelings for him. He stopped making a fuss and simply said to me, "Jane, just focus on your work. I know How hard it is for you. If we can't switch back, then so be it. I looked at him in astonishment, only to see a faint trace of faint affection on his face. The days that followed were extremely peaceful, although the good pregnancy system temporarily became useless after the miscarriage. I didn't need it at all. I am excellent on my own, without relying on that system that feeds on women's blood. I can still reach the top step by step, without love clouding my vision. I climbed even higher in my career. Seeing this, Andy didn't feel upset. Instead, he happily took my hand and said affectionately, "Jane, you're truly amazing. I'm not worthy of comparison." I curled my lips slightly. Of course, he couldn't compare to me. Without the luck brought by the system, he was just a good-for-nothing. Time flies, and half a year passed quickly. I experienced the feeling of striving in the workplace and rediscovered my confident and vibrant self on the night before the switchback. Andy's eyes sparkled with excitement, for the first time ever. He prepared a table full of delicious dishes. This was also the first time I learned that he could actually cook, and he was quite skilled at it, Fiona said sarcastically from the side. Now you know how hard Andy works, don't you? Andy didn't argue back. It was clear he was happy. When we returned to the bedroom, I looked at Andy and spoke in a gentle tone. "Andy, no one would believe this body-swapping thing. Let's just keep living well like this." Andy didn't object, as if he had truly been worn down and accepted the reality. He nodded meekly. I stepped forward and hugged him, glancing at the fleeting figure outside the door crack from the corner of my eye. Fiona must have heard everything. The next day, the moment I opened my eyes, I saw Andy's enlarged face right in front of me. His face was full of joy and pride, his excitement completely unconcealed, as he proudly told me, "Jane, I found a way to switch back. I was afraid you wouldn't agree, so I didn't tell you, Jane. Thank you for helping me with work matters during this time. From now on, I'll handle things myself. Jane, you're a woman, you should stay home, have children, and take care of the family. What happened before was just a momentary lapse in judgment. I won't hold it against you. Let's live well together from now on. If we lose one child, we can have a second or third." Looking at Andy's excited face, my desolate expression formed a stark contrast to his. He smiled with particular smugness. "I still love you. I'll treat you well from now on. Don't overthink it. I'm going to work." Watching Andy's retreating figure, my gaze dimmed slightly. The system's mechanical voice echoed in my mind. "The experience has ended. Please rate it, host." I raised my hand. Of course, it was a 5-star review. The evaluation ended, and the system vanished as if it had never existed. My exchange system only lasted 6 months. But that was more than enough. I don't know how long Andy's system lasted, but I remember in my previous life, the system was still there until the day I died. The door burst open, and Fiona stumbled in, throwing her arms around me. "Andy, my Andy, what kind of dark magic did that bitch use to swap you two? It's all my fault, Andy. I didn't recognize you." I could tell from Fiona's expression that she had heard everything I said last night. I reached out and hugged Fiona back, my voice trembling and choked with sobs. "Mom, I'm scared. I'm afraid I'll stay like this forever. Afraid he'll kill me. Jane must have used some trick to make me wake up like this." Fiona grabbed my hand and said coldly, "That bitch. Don't worry, Mom won't let her off easy." I quickly held Fiona back. "Mom, you can't win against her. If she finds out, she definitely won't let you go either." A flash of ruthlessness crossed Fiona's eyes. "Don't worry, Andy, Mom knows what she's doing." I just watched Fiona leave, barely able to contain the excitement in my eyes. The show is about to begin. When Andy returned, he was in high spirits. Although he had suffered for 6 months, it wasn't until he went to the company today that he realized just how capable I am. Relying on Andy alone, he would never have achieved what we have now in this lifetime. Of course, that's a different story if we're talking about the system. He plopped down on the chair. "Mom, I'm hungry," Fiona responded and brought out the food from the kitchen. While Andy ate with a smug expression, after washing up, he leaned in close to me. "Jane, let's have another child." I looked up at him, then smiled. He thought I agreed, but I pushed him away. Andy froze for a moment. "Jane, having a child could help us mend our relationship. If you're not willing tonight, it's fine. I can wait for you." I looked at Andy and said softly, "I know that Tao's priest." Andy paused for a second, staring at me in shock. "What do you mean?" I watched as the smile on his face widened. Then I shouted, "Jane, what are you doing? Are you trying to kill me?" Then I ran outside. Andy immediately chased after me, confused and shouting, "What are you talking about?" Fiona rushed out of the kitchen with a knife, her gaze at Andy as sharp as poison. Hiding behind Fiona, I yelled, "Mom, Jane is trying to kill me. She said killing me would let her take over my body forever." Fiona's eyes instantly turned red with rage as she glared at Andy. "You bitch. Give my son's body back to him now." Andy hurriedly explained, "Mom, I'm Andy. I've already switched our bodies back." I grabbed Fiona's hand and said sharply, "He's lying to you, Mom. don't believe him. He was just trying to kill me. Mom, is he going to silence both of us by killing us? Fiona's eyes instantly turned red with rage. I'll chop this little bitch to death first. I immediately chimed in, Mom, since we can't switch bodies back anyway, if we don't kill him now, he'll definitely kill us someday. I tempted Fiona. As long as he dies, the two of us will inherit the property by succession without any loss. Everything will belong to us, mother and child. I paused and continued, if he doesn't die, all the money I've worked hard to save will be his. He's using my body and my money. How could he let me live? Now that you know his true identity, he won't spare you either. Mom, let's kill him together. Let's kill Jane together. Seeing Fiona being swayed by me, Andy immediately shouted excitedly, Mom, don't listen to her. I've switched bodies back with her. I'm the real Andy now. I interrupted him. Mom, do you believe him? Fiona glared fiercely at Andy. You're still trying to deceive me. I heard everything last night. Die, you bitch. I watched as Fiona took a knife to attack Andy, a smile instantly appearing on my face, though my voice still carried urgency. Mom, let me help you. My gaze, however, remained fixed on Andy, eyes filled with a hint of provocation. Andy was the easiest to provoke, and sure enough, he glared at me with reddened eyes and roared, you dare incite my mom to kill me? I'll take you down first, you bitch. Feigning fear, I cried, Mom, look, he wants to kill me. He just wants to use my identity forever. Fiona swung a kitchen knife at Andy, but Andy, being a grown man, was strong and robust. Fiona was no match for him. Fiona was pushed to the ground, while I smashed a stool hard onto Andy's head. Blood gushed from his forehead, and within moments, his face was covered in blood, combined with his ferocious expression. He looked utterly terrifying. He glared at me furiously. Bitch, I was going to spare your life, but you're asking for death. I looked up at him, then turned my head and shouted to Fiona behind him, Mom, save me. Fiona struggled to her feet and staggered toward Andy, caught off guard. Andy was knocked to the ground by her. Fiona swung the kitchen knife at Andy, but her strength wasn't enough. Andy ended up with several wounds. Though none were fatal, perhaps spurred by the pain, Andy snatched the kitchen knife from Fiona and slashed at her with brutal force. Blood splattered across his face. Fiona soon stopped moving, her body collapsing to the ground, her eyes wide open and fixed on Andy in a deathly stare. Andy froze for a moment, then let out a piercing scream. Mom, his eyes reddened as he looked up at me, and I knew he hated me to the core. He cursed, Jane, you bitch, you'll pay with your life for my mother. Fiona was dead, and I dropped the act, sneering at him. Wasn't it you who killed her? TSK, how ruthless. Just one slash. A single slash was all it took to kill her. Andy, you're truly vicious. Andy couldn't accept the truth at all. He roared at me. No, it's not like that. It's you bitch, who killed her. I'll kill you. Already wounded by Fiona, Andy was low on stamina and was easily kicked to the ground by me. I stomped on Andy's hand holding the knife, grinding it hard with the tip of my shoe. Worthless trash. You think I spent these 6 months doing nothing to prepare? The reason I came back so late every day was because I was taking self-defense lessons, all for this very moment. Andy struggled to get up, but I stomped hard on his chest. He turned pale from the pain. I picked up the kitchen knife from the floor. We were once husband and wife, so I'll let you die with clarity. Switching bodies was my doing. Did you think you were the only one with a system? That I had nothing? I've known all along about the time you got back. Did you really think that Taoist priest helped you? I smirked proudly. That priest was arranged by me. I gave him some money and told him you were mentally ill, just to play along with you. Did you think you were so clever, knowing everything? Andy, you've been following my plan from the very beginning. I swung the kitchen knife hard at his neck, warm blood splashing onto my face. The resentment from my past life finally dissipated at this moment. I was never a good person to begin with. I've been waiting for this day since the start, since I died because of Andy. It's only natural he should repay me with his life. His death must have taken that so-called luck system with him. It's just a shame it was a system. If I had the power, I'd destroy it with my own hands. What kind of luck system is this? Profiting by draining the flesh and blood of women. Childbirth is a sacred act, not a tool to shackle women. Nor should it be exploited by this so-called system. Only a loser like Andy could achieve fame and success by relying on such a system. Everything was over. Lying in a pool of blood, I dialed the emergency number. The police took me away. 6 months later, I stood before Andy's grave and casually tossed a bouquet of flowers onto the ground, taking off the sunglasses. A hint of pride flashed in their eyes. Did you think I was working hard for you those 6 months? I was just saving up a little more inheritance for myself. That's all. I pulled out that psychiatric evaluation from my bag and waved it in front of his tombstone. The mentally ill don't go to jail for murder, you know. All your inheritance is mine now. I took Andy's inheritance, donated a portion to the mountainous regions, and kept the rest for myself. I think if I couldn't be reborn, without the so-called system's help, I would probably die with regret. Sometimes it really feels like a dream, and in the end, I broke through the nightmare and gained my freedom after hearing the second story. Above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my previous life, I was driven to madness by my husband Carl's controlling nature. He imposed hundreds of household rules on me, both big and small. No speaking loudly at home, no watching what he deemed as mindless variety shows. After returning home, actively mute the phone and refrain from making or answering calls casually during off-duty hours. Messages received from colleagues, especially those of the opposite sex, must be replied to only with his permission. Clothes worn daily must not be revealing in any way. Go to bed at a fixed time every day, strictly controlling the daily routine. If I failed to complete any one of them, he will punish me severely. When I was beaten black and blue, Carl would just watch me coldly. I'm doing all this for your own good. Why can't you understand my good intentions? If you just obeyed, you could have become as excellent as me. I absolutely won't allow you to wallow in self-destruction. Outside, everyone praises Carl as a great husband who keeps the household perfectly in order. Little do they know, my daily life is on the verge of collapse. Unable to bear it any longer, I filed for divorce. My husband couldn't bear the provocation and chose to kill me with a knife. Excruciating pain spread throughout my body as I mustered my last ounce of strength to glare at my husband. His eyes were ice cold. Sarah, you've disappointed me so much. Someone as outstanding as me absolutely cannot accept being divorced, so just go die. Tormented by his sick and selfish thoughts all my life, I died with resentment. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself reborn. The house still had the familiar setup, and my husband Carl was furious because I had presumptuously replied to a message from the company's boss. Ding. Would you like to bind the cheating system to your husband Carl? It took me a while to process what was happening. Due to my rebirth, I unexpectedly gained the ability to bind a cheating system. However, the target of the binding wasn't myself, but my husband. Staring at Carl, who kept lecturing me non-stop, I didn't hesitate to choose to bind. Sarah, my husband looked at me with an expression of exasperation. How many times have I told you, there are house rules? Chatting with other men without permission, I must punish you today. Let's see if you'll remember this next time. He flashed that sickly smile again. My husband Carl serves as the head of the technology department at a tech company. Meticulous and detail-oriented, he has earned unanimous praise from everyone. Yet at home, he finds pleasure in tormenting me. He took out a slender bamboo stick. This kind of bamboo stick causes excruciating pain when it strikes a person. Carl was just about to act when the system's voice rang out again. Because I agreed to bind with my husband, Carl could now also hear the system's voice. Alert, the system will issue its first task. Host, please prepare yourself. What the hell? Carl frowned, raising and then lowering his hand that was about to hit me. Task content. Host Carl must complete staying out all night once. Task duration, from this moment until 8 a.m. tomorrow. Mission success reward, 10,000 yuan. Mission failure penalty, brief electric shock. Who the hell is messing with me? Carl was furious, even forgetting to keep hitting me. Pretending to know nothing, I quickly escaped back to the bedroom to sleep. Lying in bed, the pain of being hurt by Carl in my past life once again surfaced in my mind. That agony seemed to crawl all over my body again, making me loathe him to the core. Reborn, I must make Carl, that scumbag, pay the price. Carl didn't seem to believe the system's words at all. He has always prided himself on extreme self-discipline, but I know it's all just an act. His wandering thoughts are perfect for disciplining with this cheating system. Because of the system issue, bedtime was already delayed by half an hour. Carl didn't have time to hit me and just collapsed into sleep, soon snoring away. The next morning, the wall clock pointed exactly to 8 o'clock. Carl, who had just woken up, suddenly convulsed all over and fell straight onto the floor. At that moment, the system voice sounded right on time. Host Carl's mission has timed out and is judged as a failure. Administering electric shock punishment now. Carl wanted to curse but couldn't get the words out. His whole body convulsing uncontrollably on the ground. I secretly rejoiced in my heart. The infidelity system was showing its power. Watching him in such a pathetic state filled me with immense satisfaction, but I can't let him know yet that the system was actually bound by me. I pretended to panic and shouted, honey, what's wrong with you? I'll call an ambulance right away. He's covered in electricity right now. I'm not foolish enough to go help him up. I had just pulled out my phone. When I saw Carl lying on the ground, struggling to speak, don't make the call. I look too pathetic like this. This guy is truly beyond help. I really don't know what I saw in him in my past life. I didn't die unjustly in my past life, but now that I've been reborn, I'll make sure Carl tastes despair. Hearing Carl refuse to call an ambulance himself, I immediately put my phone away. The electric shock ended after just a moment. Before Carl could catch his breath, the system voice sounded. Again, next, the host will be assigned a second task. What? His face twisted in disbelief. How is there still more? This is hilarious. I was the one who bound the system for him, without my consent. His tasks will continue endlessly. Either obediently follow the system's orders to cheat, or be punished to death. Warning, the system will issue the second task. Please prepare yourself, host. Carl's face instantly turned pale. After the painful lesson just now, he had come to understand that this so-called system was definitely not as simple as a prank. If he didn't complete the tasks obediently, he would surely face punishment. Mission content: host Carl must pursue a female colleague from his own company. Mission duration: within 3 days starting immediately. Reward for successful completion: 50,000 yuan. Penalty for failure: mild electric shock. The rewards and penalties for tasks have been increased. Carl's face looked extremely unpleasant. Isn't this forcing him to cheat? I continued to feign ignorance. Honey, why are you stunned? Is there still somewhere you're not feeling well? Should we go to the hospital for a checkup? Carl pushed me away rudely. It's fine, I need to get ready to go out, but I haven't even had breakfast yet. Eating breakfast at home every day is also one of our family rules, but now it's already late, and if I don't leave for the office soon, I'll be late. Carl thought about the system's task again, and his expression became very complicated. Let it pass this time, but don't let it happen again. After saying that, he immediately went to the bathroom to wash up and casually sprayed on some men's cologne. It seems that to avoid further electric shocks, he has somewhat compromised. As soon as my husband left the house, I immediately contacted the private detective I had arranged in advance. I bet my husband will definitely make a move in the coming days. Only by gathering evidence of his affair can I take the initiative. That night, Carl didn't return until 10:30 p.m. This would never have happened before. Although he's the technical leader at the company, his high efficiency at work meant he never worked overtime. This had become his signature trait. I sat at the dining table in the living room, staring at him with a livid expression. The table still held dinner for two. When Carl saw me, his expression suddenly turned guilty. Why are you only coming back now? I demanded coldly. Carl's tone became flustered for the first time. I was working overtime at the company. I slammed the table. What does the family rule say? Working overtime without permission is not allowed for the sake of the family. In case of special circumstances, you must report to your partner and obtain their consent. In my previous life, he often used the family rules to torment me, which made me very familiar with all these clauses. Carl still wanted to argue, but the words stuck in his throat. He was a man of low taste and discipline was merely his excuse. He took pleasure in catching me violating the house rules, and every time he punished me, he could condescendingly display his sense of superiority, but those house rules were inherently inhumane. Gradually, Carl developed a pathological sense of discipline. When the company required overtime, he would push it all onto the new employees. At the company dinner, he ordered his female subordinate to drink with clients, yet he himself abstained from alcohol completely. When his father-in-law called in the middle of the night with a medical emergency, he muted the call and went back to sleep. Fortunately, a neighbor discovered the situation and saved the man's life. He said that no one should disturb him during his sleep time. This is all part of his discipline. As his wife, if you can't align with his routine, you'll be punished. What a freak. Now, seeing him hesitate to speak, I couldn't help but sneer. Go on, why don't you say it? Why did you break the family rules? Because you didn't like them. I looked at him with a mocking expression. Don't forget, these so-called house rules were all set by you. Carl glared at me furiously, his face flushed with anger. So what? I just came home late once. It's not like I committed some cardinal sin. Stop making a mountain out of a molehill. He angrily locked the bedroom door from the inside, talking back to your own husband. Tonight's punishment is no bed for you. I'd be more than happy to sleep in separate rooms. Just as I entered the spare bedroom, the private detective sent me the day's findings. In the photo, Carl and a young woman were chatting and laughing as they entered a restaurant. The two had dinner by the open-air riverside, and he even drank red wine with her, which was rare for him. Shortly after, the private detective sent me the woman's information, Jenny, a female employee from the same company as Carl. My current job is as the company's front desk receptionist, married. My husband's name is Wilson. He's the owner and Coach of a local fitness club, damn, asked him to flirt with a female colleague, and he went for the extra challenge of seducing a married woman. Could it be that Carl's original surname was Stewart? Finally, the private detective dropped a bombshell. According to the investigation, this Jenny and your husband Carl didn't just start getting cozy recently. Turns out they've been making eyes at each other for quite some time. So the cheating system actually gave him courage. I gathered all the information and had a private detective find the contact details of Jenny's husband for me. The next evening, knowing he was in the wrong, my husband specifically sent me a message. There's an important meeting at the company tonight. I have to work overtime. Figure out dinner on your own. I promptly replied with an okay. When Carl came home drunk in the evening, he noticed the lights in the living room were still on. Me, my parents-in-law, and Carl's younger sister were all sitting on the sofa. "What are you all doing here?" I laughed and said. "What, can't Mom, Dad, and my sister come?" Father-in-law had always held a grudge against Carl and asked coldly with a straight face, "What's the matter? Not welcome?" Carl, now feeling guilty, didn't dare to say anything unnecessary. No, how could we not welcome you, Mom, Dad, and my little sister? It's just that it's so late now, and according to house rules, Sarah and I need to get some rest. Carl's younger sister, Sherry, bounced up to him and sniffed. "That's a strong smell of alcohol." Sherry deliberately pinched her nose in feigned disgust. "Bro, sis-in-law said you were working overtime at the company, but clearly you were out drinking." Why do I smell perfume too?" The parents-in-law immediately changed their expressions. Over the years, they've endured no small amount of frustration from their son in their previous life. Even when the in-laws scolded their son as selfish and ungrateful, it was to no avail. Carl claims to be a disciplined person, and no one can change that about him. He filled his home with motivational self-help literature, urging everyone to be as disciplined as he is. Plan your life meticulously, keeping every day firmly in your grasp. This is his famous saying. Now he's actually starting to indulge himself. The mother-in-law immediately started scolding. "How could I have given birth to such an ungrateful wretch like you, forcing the family to follow so-called house rules while sneaking out to fool around yourself?" I sprang up from the couch in an instant and moved closer to Carl to sniff him. Sure enough, there was the scent of perfume, a fragrance I'd never smelled before. I immediately started throwing a tantrum. "You damn Carl, how dare you mess around outside? I'll fight you to the death." I rushed at him and we got into a scuffle. Carl, being much bigger, shoved me away with one push. The mother-in-law and sister took out their phones to record the screen. "Everyone, look, the domestic abuser is hitting someone. Carl's selfish nature has caused the entire family to side with me, but when he's drunk and his temper flares up, no one can stop him. I was having dinner with a client, nothing inappropriate. If you can't provide evidence, all of you get out." My in-laws and younger sister were quickly kicked out. As for me, I took 2 solid slaps from him. There was no one else at home, and Carl didn't bother pretending with me anymore. He grabbed my neck. In an instant, "I'm warning you, don't play any of your clever little games. I'm the one who calls the shots in this house. What good will bringing Mom, Dad, and your sister do?" I struggled with all my might. "You cheated and still have the nerve to act righteous." In his panic, Carl actually loosened his grip. "I didn't. Go ahead, show me the evidence if you can." I rubbed my sore neck. With someone like Carl, even if you showed him photos of his date with Jenny, he'd probably still deny it. After all, without solid evidence, given Carl's unreasonable nature, I'm no match for him. All I can do is keep enduring and wait for the right moment. At this moment, the system voice suddenly rang in both of our minds. "Host Carl's mission is successful, and the reward will now be issued. 50,000 yuan reward has been transferred." Carl immediately took out his phone and checked his mobile banking app. Before long, he showed an expression of ecstasy. Who would have thought that cheating could also be profitable for Carl, who had already lost all moral boundaries? It was simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I, on the other hand, sneered and returned to my bedroom. I should have realized long ago that so-called house rules only take effect when I break them. As soon as I entered the room, the system voice sounded again. "Notification, the system will now issue the 3rd mission. Please prepare yourself, host." I quietly cracked open the door and saw my husband sitting on the couch, his face full of anticipation. It seems he's already starting to enjoy the thrill of cheating. Mission content: host Carl checks into a hotel with a female colleague. Mission duration: within 3 days from now. Mission success reward: 500,000 yuan. Mission failure penalty: high-intensity electric shock. Great. Carl slapped his thigh, as if that $500,000 prize was already within reach. Early the next morning, Carl hummed a tune while fixing his hair in front of the dressing table, looking in excellent spirits. Seeing me come out, he said, "There's a new project launching at the company today. Don't wait for me tonight," I blurted out, "Working overnight?" Carl froze for a moment, frowning as he looked at me. "It depends." After packing up, he walked out the door without looking back. The so-called "it depends" probably means he's going to ask his little sweetheart Jenny for her opinion, doesn't it? That evening, Carl's WeChat message arrived right on time. "Tonight the company has an important project to handle. All leaders must stay overnight." He even sent a photo of himself sitting in the company's conference room. I really admire my husband. My doubts were written all over my face, yet he still found time to put on an act with me. To be fair, I should thank him for taking the time out of his busy schedule to fool me. I very understandingly replied with an okay. Not long after, the private investigator's video came through. In the video, Carl and Jenny were intimately embracing each other as they entered a hotel. The detective then told me their room number. I immediately contacted Jenny's husband, Wilson, upon hearing that his wife had checked into a hotel with someone else. Wilson couldn't believe it until I revealed my identity and then sent him the video of the two of them going to the hotel. Wilson was furious. "Son of a bitch, I treated her so well, and she still cheated on me behind my back. Just wait till I beat the shit out of that cheating couple." I was secretly delighted. "Hit them, we must teach them a lesson," Wilson and I immediately rushed to the hotel. When we arrived at the hotel, we found that Wilson had brought along his gym buddies. Each of them was burly and seething with anger, ready to vent anger for his cuckolded brother at any moment. The management of the Love Hotel wasn't strict, and our group quickly reached the floor where Carl was having his affair. "Brother Wu, should we just break the door down?" asked a burly young man. If we alerted them, Carl and Jenny would definitely refused to open the door. The hotel front desk wouldn't help us catch someone cheating either. I wanted to capture some more explosive footage, so we had to catch them off guard. Just then, a food delivery guy walked by humming a tune. Damn, why are there so many people here? As luck would have it, the takeout was ordered by Carl. I snatched it and opened it. Inside were condoms. Nice. Still remembering safety measures at a time like this, the delivery guy looked shocked. "You guys aren't playing together, are you? Get lost." Wilson propped up the delivery guy, having him help knock open the door. As soon as the door opened, a group of burly men swarmed in. The delivery guy shouted, "Stay safe," and bolted. "What are you doing?" Screams immediately erupted in the room. "Damn it, you're really here?" Wilson's voice rang out. "I'll beat you to death, you bastard," not wanting to miss the exciting part. I rushed in immediately. Wilson grabbed Jenny by the hair and slapped her hard twice, hit them all. The other underlings immediately rushed forward upon receiving the order. However, since she was the boss's wife, no one dared to strike with lethal force. Even so, Jenny still screamed in agony from the beating. I quickly took out my phone and started recording, capturing the entire scene of the barely clothed Jenny being beaten. "What are you doing? Stop it." Carl, used to being domineering at home, still put on an arrogant attitude despite being clearly in the wrong for cheating. "Let Jenny go right now. What kind of man hits a woman? No wonder Jenny left you." Wilson had planned to deal with Carl later. Since Carl was asking for it, Wilson wouldn't hold back. He grabbed Carl's arm and delivered a fierce punch straight to his face. The husband's face was instantly covered in blood. Wilson never holds back when beating a man. Hit them all. The muscular men dragged Carl off the bed and pinned him to the ground, beating him mercilessly. How could I miss such a thrilling scene? I immediately rushed forward to film it. One of Carl's legs was broken. Someone kicked him in the stomach, and Carl let out a wail as he curled up on the ground. I took the opportunity to go up and stomped on it a couple of times. No reason not to hit it when it's free. Seeing that the situation was about right, I quietly slipped away, leaving no trace of my involvement. As soon as I got home, I immediately started editing the video. Then, by accident, it was uploaded online by a specialized internet team. That night, the news of Carl's affair with the company receptionist went viral online. As for me, I slept soundly through the night. Early the next morning, my in-laws and their entire family came to our door, ready to teach their worthless son a lesson, but I told them Carl never came back. LOL, got beaten to a pulp himself. How could he have the nerve to come back after my in-laws left? I called Carl. "You worthless scum, did you film that video?" I sneered. "What, you can check into a hotel with another woman, but I can't record a video? Damn it, do you even know? Everyone online is cursing me now. How am I supposed to live from now on? Like I care how you live. If you knew you couldn't bear the consequences, why did you do it in the first place? I'm the victim here. Don't you find it ridiculous to say these things to me? But I just made the same mistake any man in the world would make. By saying that, do you think all the men in the world would Agree with you. Carl was left speechless. He wanted to explain about the system, but the words died on his lips. Given the current situation, there was no need for any explanation anymore. I coldly uttered 2 words, divorce. Carl laughed viciously over the phone. Sarah, do you think you can get rid of me so easily? I'm telling you, dream on. I absolutely refuse to agree to a divorce. He hung up the phone directly. Now I have evidence of his infidelity, and I'm determined to divorce, even if it means going through litigation. But at the thought of this, scenes from my past life suddenly flashed through my mind. Back then, I was also adamant about divorcing, which enraged Carl. Now, he seems mentally more fragile than in my previous life. A chill ran through my heart. Could it be that in this life, I would repeat the same mistakes? Just at that moment, I heard the system's voice. Host Carl's mission is successful. Rewards will now be issued. $500,000 in rewards has been transferred. I feel a bit emotional. Carl has paid quite a price for that 500,000 yuan now. The company he works for has been exposed and is being relentlessly cyberbullied by netizens. The company's boss has already come forward, stating they will verify the situation as soon as possible if the online video's content is confirmed to be true. The company will definitely fire an unethical employee like Carl, getting beaten up for that 500,000, suffering public humiliation online, and ultimately losing the job. No matter how you look at it, it's just not worth it. I bet the husband is hiding somewhere full of regrets right now. Just thinking about this puts me in a good mood, but making your husband despair is not enough. At worst, I won't divorce you. Just wait and see how I deal with you. At this moment, the system continued to issue tasks. Notice, the system will now release the 4th task. Please prepare yourself. Host, mission content. Host Carl must marry a female colleague. Mission duration, within 3 months starting immediately. Reward for success, $30 million. Penalty for failure, destructive level electric shock. Even I was stunned for a moment. Is this the final mission of the cheating system? It actually wants my husband to dump me and marry the other woman. Little does it know, I'm the one who really wants a divorce. After a short while, Carl called back. Hello. I've thought about it. Let's get a divorce. I won't bother you anymore. Let's part on good terms. All right, hee. You changed your mind, then I'll change my mind too. Thinking of easily kicking me out, I quit first, so I excitedly declared, I disagree. This statement completely stunned Carl on the other end of the phone. Didn't you just say you wanted a divorce? Now I'm granting your wish. I refused outright. Honey, I've thought it through. I can't abandon you at your lowest point. They say one day as husband and wife creates 100 days of affection. How could I possibly leave you? I've made up my mind. We'll be together for all eternity, never to part. Even I feel nauseous hearing this line. This time, it was Carl's turn to panic. No, I don't want to stay with you anymore. Even if I have to go through litigation to get a divorce, I must end this marriage. Threatening me, I said leisurely, fine, then take your time with the lawsuit. I can wait, as long as I firmly refuse to divorce. Carl's lawsuit for divorce will be very troublesome. The system gave him 3 months. If I drag it out for 3 months, he'll be in big trouble. Carl was silent on the other end of the line for a long time before speaking. Then tell me, what are your demands? Awesome. Transfer all the assets to my name. Not a single penny will be left for you. This is your punishment. If you agree, then I'm willing to get divorced. Carl thought for a moment, gritted his teeth, and agreed. Fine, but let's be clear, you can't back out again. No problem. Combined, all of Carl's and my assets should be around 4 million, compared to the system's 30 million reward. That's practically nothing, and how could Carl possibly refuse, when it meant he could divorce me and marry his beloved Jenny? I continued to hire a private investigator, just in case Carl tried anything shady. I had him keep a close eye on Carl during this time. Carl was overjoyed by the system's reward. All he had to do was divorce me and marry Jenny. That was a $30 million reward. He privately approached Jenny and revealed his plan. Jenny was also a woman with big breasts but no brains. Believing whatever Carl told her, after being disciplined by Wilson, she had become much more subdued. Now, faced with 30 million, she chose to take the risk. Jenny proposed a divorce, and Wilson naturally disagreed. His wife's affair had also negatively impacted his gym business. How could he let Jenny off so easily? But Jenny was in a hurry, so she had no choice but to agree to leave with nothing, and even wrote Wilson in. I owe you for 2 million. After all, once the system rewards arrive, 2 million won't seem like much in her eyes. On Carl's side, to prevent me from changing my mind, he promptly transferred all his assets to me without hesitation. I accepted everything without question. Next, we just need to wait for Carl and me to get divorced, and then the two of them can get married. The cheating system will issue a reward of 30 million. Carl was lost in his wildest dreams, but he never expected. I heard every single Word, the system said loud and clear. With the money in hand, I immediately booked a flight out of town. Sorry, I'm going on a trip first. On the day we were supposed to finalize the divorce, Carl bombarded me with calls. I blocked him immediately. He sent me threatening messages. Sarah, I advise you to come back immediately, or if I find you, I swear I'll kill you. You think you can fool me? Don't you know how many days you have left to live? In the following days, Carl used all his connections to look for me, but all the evil he had done over the years made even his own parents and sister despise him. Who would help him? It wasn't until 3 months later that I had a private detective lead me to Carl, who was already in despair. He was so terrified he couldn't sleep, and his appetite had greatly diminished. When I saw him, he was already skin and bones, huddled alone in the corner of the rented room. He looked utterly disheveled. Sarah, he looked at me, a flicker of hope in his eyes that quickly faded back into lifelessness. I crouched in front of him. How about it? Feeling like disaster is looming. Carl's eyes widened. You knew all along. I chuckled darkly. Are you trying to ask me about the cheating system? Carl froze, his expression turning rather complicated. So you knew all along? I nodded. Yes, and now, please die. I turned and walked away without hesitation. Just as I reached the foot of the stairs, the system's voice finally rang out again after 3 months. Host Carl's mission has timed out and is deemed a failure, now initiating electric shock punishment. The most intense electric shock punishment was administered, and from the rental building behind me, a cry of utter despair erupted. Carl's voice didn't last long before fading away. I got into my newly bought car and left without looking back. Later, Carl's body was found, and his parents-in-law simply wrapped him in a straw mat and threw him into the mountains, as if they had never had the son. As for Jenny, unable to repay the $2 million owed to her ex-husband, she was forced to work 3 jobs a day. Accustomed to a life of comfort, she couldn't endure such work intensity and reportedly died from exhaustion within 6 months. As for me, I sold my original house and moved to another city with several million in savings. Here, no disgusting family rules bind me anymore. This made me realize that my life doesn't need to depend on anyone, nor should it be constrained by any rule.